Dear ladies and gentlemen, fellow deplorables, another video about the international war on drugs and how to organize it, and why we have to attack and destroy Brazil in first place in this international war on drugs. There are different arguments about it. We know about it well, and we have done the first steps, but it's only the first steps. You can consider your declaration an executive order to declare all drug cartels terrorists, pigs, animals, crashed down, going to Guantanamo, hacking in pieces. That's a good first step. Yes, they are animals. They have no right to live. They have a right to die and to be tortured to death. That's what we can start now. So they are now declared terrorists. That means up to our law, we can kill every single drug dealer in Brazil and wherever in the world. We can break their bones, we can drag them to Guantanamo, and we can burn them alive, and that's what we should do. But let's do it step by step now for an international war on drugs. We can clean it in the United States and building 3,000, 30,000 more cells in Guantanamo is an excellent plan, but we need to torture them there as well, so we need to legalize the torture. But it's legalized already when we declare them, when they are foreigners and they are declared terrorists, then they are always tortured in Guantanamo, and we have, thanks God, now somebody who is a specialist in torture of pervert, evil animals of shithole countries. Kash Patel is now FBI leader. This is a good experience in this torturing evil bastards, like our defense secretary as well. So that's a good start, but it's just a start. I appreciate also your proposal to open again Alcatraz specifically for fucking narco-terrorists. It's a good idea. We don't need to renovate it. They don't need anything renovated. Leave them empty without furniture. Give them, just like in El Salvador, one glass of water, a bowl of rice, some rotten meat maybe to eat. That's what they deserve, and let them starve to death and being tortured and torture interrogated. That's what they deserve, and that's what we should do. It's a very good symbolic action, and it should be also published. No? It helps very much. So we have done with this kind of strike hard, sending them to hardcore prisons, the illegals in El Salvador, and sending the first to Guantanamo and in chains back to their country. That was the right action and has already decreased to 95% the amount of illegals crossing the border. So let's go step by step, but the aim is declaring them subhuman animals, terrorists without any human rights, and this we need to make a law in the Congress that there is no human right anymore for terrorists. We have a lot of freedom now when we act with terrorists. That's why we need to declare them terrorists, because they have no right to go to court. And when they are Americans, then we have to strip them of the citizenship. It's possible up to the law, and it's done in some cases as well. So on the national level, we can go strike hard right now, even on a legal base after the declaration as terrorists. But we need to implement also the punishment of stripping off the citizenship of US citizens who are drug dealers. Then we can put them to Guantanamo. Right now we can't put them to Guantanamo. Yeah, we need more than just 30,000 torture cells more, much more. There are millions of these fucking animals, of terrorists. No? So in the international way, like I said, on the national base, we can do it with our own force. We can clean it. We can make some interventions, military in some countries when they get too much fed up. It's our right up to US law. And that's when we have to live the US law and the US Constitution. But it's the best is when we get rid of these fucking terrorists worldwide, and this we can only do when we have a huge international alliance. There are other countries interested in a war on drugs and killing and torturing, and they do already a good job. No? I want to mention China. You have been there, Tony. You talked much about it. You always praise them, and you said that's because of the quick trial death sentence. No? But much better than a quick trial death sentence is declaring them terrorists, and then we don't need any court anyway. So that we have done already. And China does a good job, and what is excellent is they kill the drug dealers, they have the death sentence for it, and they combine it with taking out their organs and to sell their organs on the international market. We should work together with China to organize a legal drug organ market with taking out organs out of terrorists like drug dealers are. And so we can finance the war on drugs with the organ trades. And we can additionally, thankfully, we have finished the animal testing. I appreciate it, so it's not anymore allowed to use animals for as laboratory rats and for as tests for testing drugs, etc. So we need, but we need to test it anyway. So much better is it not to test and abuse innocent animals, but terrorists, human terrorists. Use human terrorists as laboratory rats as well and lend them to other countries. So we make enough money in this way with this fucking piece of shit, and so we don't have expenses for the war on drugs. No? And I think China will be glad to cooperate and will love this idea. They already sell the organs of drug dealers to other countries in legal ways. Legally, they cut out their organs, I think, before the death sentence, but I'm not sure about it. They apply the death sentence. Not sure if they keep them there until the organ is demanded, kill them and take out the organ, or take out first the organ and then kill them in case they are still alive, or this I don't know. But it works very well, their organ trade with organs from drug dealers. And they are quite successful. And they have a very reduced drug abuse, and they have a very reduced drug traffic. And Singapore is much better. It's another good example. We can work together with Singapore. Has a tough death penalty. They don't publish how much it is, and we can learn from them, because in the beginning there was an opposition to the death sentence within the country, and the international uprising against the so-called human rights violations, but they kept on doing it and killing everybody who had a smaller amount of drugs. They have some amount limits, but not very high, and when you have more than these amounts of drugs, then it's obligatory, mandatory death sentence. It works very well, and in the beginning it was only 40% of the population agreeing to the capital punishment. Now Singapore is one of the highest developed countries, probably the safest country in the world, because of killing everyone who uses drugs. It works very well. There's a huge discrimination against drug users, and there is a death sentence for drug dealers. They have also a very good law against illegal entrance. Everybody who comes illegal, enters illegal in the country, there is for certain people only with some exemptions, but usually for the most people it's mandatory to get I think it's 7, also 3 or 7 strokes with a big stick. And the officers are trained in using the stick in a martial arts way, to go with the whole body and the whole weight, like martial artists are trained. So when they beat with their stick the others, the illegals, and they go in with the whole weight and the long stick, so that the wound is very deep. It is a huge force, and they have a huge deep wounds in their arse, and they can't sleep and have a lot of pain. It works very well. Nearly no one, I have no statistics seen, but the most of them don't return and don't try it again. They are sent back, go to jail, get the strokes, can't sit, can't sleep because it's painful. It's painful anyway, but much more painful when they sit on their ass or lie on their ass, and it takes long time to heal, and they won't come back illegal again. It works. Singapore does a good job. We can cooperate with them. And also in the way of drug trade, they will be happy to cooperate in this. Philippines has done a good job with Rudy Duterte, who is now in ICC jail, and we need to free him in one way or another. And he wanted a death sentence, and he promised to kill all pushers. The problem in the Philippines was that they couldn't legalize it in the parliament, and they went the legal way. So, but anyway, in confrontations, it was legal to kill them when they resist the arrest, etc. And this they have done, and that's very good. And there are plenty of still of police officers and military forces in the Philippines dreaming of a comeback of the war on drugs with weapons. No? And Sara Duterte even has promised to go tougher than the father. And she is now vice president, but In all the polls, she's as a forerunner for becoming next Philippine president because she wants to erase the drug trade from Philippines. Also, if possible, in a legal way with death sentence. So Indonesia does already a war on drugs with military forces. It has to be better organized, but they have already the military war against drugs declared and would be probably happy to join us with their military forces to erase drugs from the world. So we have then and China. You have China. Then I mentioned Russia. Russia is a little bit more complicated than before. They have this drug problem. What is excellent is they use the cold turkey as a healing method. So everybody who uses drugs simply has to go through cold turkey. Cold turkey is the cheapest and most efficient way to get somebody out of a drug addiction. You simply don't give them drugs. It goes along with huge body pain and psychological pain and hallucination and whatever, depending on the on the mental sickness amount. Because using drugs, it's mentally sick. Needing it, it's addiction. Drug addiction is one of the most dangerous mental health issues. Are crazy, these people, and so we need to treat them like crazy because they are crazy. And so the cold turkey in Russia simply puts them in a cell or in a room, no drugs at all, no access to drugs. They have to go through the pain, and the people who some don't survive, others survive, but the most survivors, they don't use the drugs again, but they may use them again. So, but it's much better than spending a lot of money for other drugs and the drug treatment for $10,000 or $20,000. No, the cold turkey costs nothing because they don't get any drugs. And no, they don't need any treatment. They just need to be have a closed room and some rice and beans there once a day, and that's it. And when they survive the half year or 5 months, then they are clean. When they don't survive, then it's God's wish to send them to hell for their evil being, and because they have been such an evil piece of shit that God doesn't want them to survive. That's God decide who survives and who not. Russia would be on the side because they already asked us to have the permission to destroy the drug fields in Afghanistan. I may remind you on this, it was denied because United Nations argument was it destroys working places and can't be done therefore. Yeah, it's not a crime, it's criminal activity, it's not a working action. One of the reasons we have to leave United Nations, and they will be soon bankrupt when we leave United Nations. We are the biggest payers to this fucking barbarian dump-ass association from retarded corrupt countries. Then they will go bankrupt because they live from our money, and this must end. Yep. Just leave them and kick them out of United States, and that's already the end of them. Okay, so we have many countries in it, in fact, that will join. El Salvador, Bukele already cooperates with us in our war on drugs, sending his many army to capture all the drug boats, and he's very successful in it. And it's very excellent that all the drugs are prohibited, including marijuana, and the people love it, and the most people stand behind him because he's against gangs, against crimes, and because he hates drugs and he dreams of killing all drug dealers. But they are still in a kind of contract, of American contract, prohibiting the death sentence and capital sentence for as punishment. No? So they just put the gangsters for lifelong in a cell. It's a bit expensive. The death sentence would be much better. But it works, so they have no problems, not with drugs and not with crime, not with gangs, not with homicides, 0 homicides. Also because they go strike hard against all drugs, including marijuana. Cool guy, you know it, Donny. Nachip is maybe one of our best friends. Yep, so we need to get along with mainly with Russia and China, because together with us we have the biggest nuclear arms amount in the world, and we will have the biggest army. And when we have this union, and Indonesia will join, and the others even don't count so much because they have small armies, but they can join as well, then we can go international. But let's prepare for it. So we need to destroy the narco countries because they're on the way to run their countries. The biggest narco country in the world is Brazil. So when we go into Brazil and just kill all the terrorists, up to our law we can do it because we have declared them terrorists, so we can hack them in pieces and we don't need to care about other laws. And up to our law we can go to any country we want to kill them. So it's for us legal to go to Brazil and hack every drug dealer in pieces and every piece of shit of them. There will be probably more than 100 million, so we need, before the war starts, we need a scientific system how to get rid of the hygienic problem by having so many evil animal shit bodies in human shape on the streets, dead and rotting. They don't deserve a funeral. Some of them we can use as laboratory rats, some of them we can use to harbor organs and to sell organs, so to make some money, so that they have some use in their lives, this piece of shit. But the most we have to kill and we have to get rid of them. But there will be scientific methods, we can develop it, we will develop it, how to get rid of them, these dead bodies, in a scientific way and a hygienical way. This is what has to be solved and what the researchers has to work on. So there are many reasons to get in. One reason is about the war on drugs. We help them. That's a main reason, because Moraes, the justice of Brazil, has already declared years ago in a speech that the war on drugs is lost. The cartels are already undermining up to high positions. They are already in high state positions, so we have lost it. So let's hear this kind of cry for help. Let's help them with our bombers, with our nuclear bombs, and let's destroy them with bloodshed. They need this help, they ask for this help, we do it, and we do them this favor. That's one of the reasons. The second reason is they work on a nuclear bomb and they do not allow international surveillance of it and check-ups. It's in the middle of, it's near to Sao Paulo. So it's known that it has been used in the past to build and construct nuclear bombs. It's probably still there. They are just too dumb to construct it, but probably they try on. And like in Iran and in North Korea, we have to consider it is a danger because they don't allow any supervision and any control. They have to be forced to control it, and when they don't do it, like in every case, then of course it must be bombed away, the nuclear research center. This will lead to war, and then we have to destroy all Brazil, and then we have the war we want and the destruction of the fucking drug dealers. Brazil is even worse, and it would be the first narco country nuclear bomb. Iran is not so dangerous, North Korea is not so dangerous, Brazil is the most dangerous part of a new nuclear illegal arms. So we need to go after it, and we need to show them that we won't accept a narco country to have a nuclear bomb, not for cartels. So you have then three things what makes it worse that they have a nuclear bomb. One, they are an idiocracy. The idiocracies are defined that there are around more than 70% of idiots in the country, in scientific words, illiterate and functional literate. After their official statistics, they have 71% functional literate people and 6.5% illiterate people, makes together 77.5% idiots, brainless idiots in Brazil. It's a population of idiots, in fact, up to the government. So you remember when former President Bolsonaro wanted to read an English text, there was nothing to understand than 2 words out of 200. Unable to read an English text after finishing school, many school years of learning English. In the first school year you learn how to read a text without understanding it. Even their presidents are dumbasses. Bolsonaro obviously a dumbass. Do you remember, Donny, when Temer asked a talk to you in an international union? Come to you, President Trump, I want to talk to you, making money, paying bribes, stop. And you answered him, I don't have time. Translator, interpreter, come soon, I don't understand a single word. A president who doesn't speak English. Can you imagine this? Jesus, and Brazil has many presidents who don't speak English because they don't have enough people with a functioning brain. No? And this official 77.5% official number of idiots in Brazil from Brazil research institutes is probably much higher. No? The scientists involved in measuring the illiteracy rate have talked to me and told me that the real rate is around 10%, but they were pushed by politicians to show some success in fighting against illiteracy, so they had to slow it down. So when you consider then 10% and the 71% has probably the same push and is in real 75%, so it's around 85% probably idiots in Brazil. This defines an idiocracy. They have so many idiots that the government is full of idiots. No? I remind you on Bolsonaro's government when the Minister for Economy told us that he won't reduce the exchange rate of the dollar, what was artificial high, also it was very expensive, the dollar for them. In fact, because they wanted to have an advantage in export for us, and he explained it that he doesn't want that housemates make holidays in Disneyland. I mean, what kind of dumb ass says this? You don't have to be a minister to be considered a dumb ass when saying you manipulate the exchange rate because you don't want housemates to make holidays in Disneyland. Yes, like this are the dumb asses, even in very high positions. That's the main problem now. And in the lynching you see that they always deny, but they have plenty of lynchings. It's the same rate like official homicides. It's even not considered a homicide in Brazil. That's another terror act, justifying to make a military invasion into Brazil to end this horror in Brazil, this horror country of these horror animals. They lynch mainly intelligent people for being intelligent, who are a threat to the local corruption network. Corruption, more than 90% are corrupt. There are cases known from parents selling their kids for rape because they got enough money for it. That you can't even imagine in civilized country existing. So an idiocracy with a nuclear bomb, much more a reason to take it away and not let it happen. But it's the good thing is it is because they are an idiocracy. They have been trying for decades to build a nuclear bomb, have sent even Brazilians to the United States to learn how to build a nuclear bomb in university, and they have learned it. But they were too dumb to remember it and to understand it, and so their dumbness is a good thing in the way that they are, even after decades, unable to build a nuclear bomb. They just try. You need some brain cells. No? And North Korea has it. The Asians are much better than this. But it's also that they are an idiocracy, that they are a narco country. They have the most drug users worldwide for marijuana are in Brazil. Second place in cocaine worldwide users in the total amount is Brazil. No? And they have a problem of junkies. So they are a narco country in the way of drug trade, of being allied of being ruled by drug cartels much more than in Mexico. And so they have enough power, and the state has said they have lost it. Moraes said they have lost the war against the cartels already. He said it years ago already. So it's a narco country, that's the definition of it. And they have a majority of junkies in the upper class. After the film Tropa de Elite, made by Pimentel, who's a quite realistic guy, special force leader of the special force Bob in Rio de Janeiro, who has written a script for the film and who says to the script, the first part of the film and the script is 100% true, the second part of the script and the film is 200% true, what means it's more importance. No? That's the part with the enemy within. And let's talk about the second part. So in the second part he shows that the militia mafia is founded by politicians, that he said that in the film and in reality in a speech in the parliament of Rio de Janeiro, that half of the parliamentarians should be in prison for their crimes. that only 3 have never done a crime and the rest have done a crime. And that they named also one who's a leader of a dangerous organized crime who has worked together in the past with or works together in the film and the present, who works together with the ex-director of the Policia Militar and the ex-minister for security of the state of Rio de Janeiro. And in an interview later on, he also stated that he figured out in official statistics that it's known by federal police that 50%, half of all parliamentarians of Rio de Janeiro state, are members of organized crime. Members, not only cooperators, members of organized crime. And then you have at least the same amount of cooperators, so there may be just 2 and 3 who do not support an organized crime form. And we have to declare the members of organized crime. They have already declared terrorists because they are drug cartels. And we should declare and will soon declare also cooperators and helpers of drug cartels and organized crime terrorists. No? This is an amount that you can imagine 210 million people in Brazil, and you can apply this 50% at least. So it means then you have children. So at least 80 million are members. 80 million members of organized crime in Brazil, and then together with the helpers it comes around 125 million people supporting and working for the organized crime because they get bribes, or they are members, that's the majority, or they are threatened into it. And they are all the most are corrupt. Corruption is widespread. Then additionally, it's a psychiatry country. A psychiatry country can be defined as a country with at least 75% of the population with a mental health damage. World Health Organization has made a statistics, international in different countries. The amount of people with mental health damage in Brazil is 86%. 86%. The majority of people are mentally sick. Probably the half of it belongs up to civilized standards into a closed psychiatry. State Sao Paulo has made for years ago statistics about the reasons for violence crimes, and the reason for violence crimes, number 1 in the state of Sao Paulo was being mentally ill and going nuts. 33%, a third of all violent crimes are just done by the majority of totally mentally sick people going nuts and not knowing what they really do. It's reason number 1, not organized crime, not other things. Of course, it includes the junkies, it's a mental illness. Of course, it includes being full with drugs. No, this is a mental illness, this addiction. So these are, having in a psychiatry, this amount, when you have a good psychiatry in the United States, you have a similar amount. 86% are patients and 14% work there, are mentally healthy. The percentage of sick people and healthy people in all Brazil is the same like in psychiatries, closed psychiatries of United States of America. So that's why it's called psychiatry country. So having a psychiatry with an own nuclear arm cannot be allowed and tolerated. That's another reason why we have a right and maybe even the need to intervene and to force with whatever necessary violence possible not to build nuclear weapons and stop trying it. No? Let's say like this. Then you have the problem between France and Brazil. France has a big department called French Guiana. They want to be part of France, they are part of France, and therefore European Union, and therefore part of the NATO. They are neighboring to Brazil. They have around. They have a lot of They have a lot of illegals there. It's a hideout for illegals, and it's very chaotic. So the amount of illegals is extremely high. It's probably 40%. I have to look it up, but it should be around 40% of the population living there are illegals. Only 60% are legals. And from the illegals, it's the half of all illegals, the majority are Brazilians. And the Brazilian mafia runs the state in the crime sector, and it's a very criminal, corrupt part. It's the most criminal, corrupt part within Europe. And they have this problem of illegals, and Brazilian authorities don't stop them to cross the border illegally, you know. How I know it, it's very, ask simply the gendarmerie, the French police and French Guiana, they will confirm it. The border is not really controlled. So then you have a bridge. The idea was to build a bridge and only crossing via the bridge and making a control point there. It lasted years to finish the bridge because the Brazilian part haven't done the part. They didn't want any control. They want to invade. They pushed by state to allow an invasion of France, and they didn't stop it. Even France didn't want it. And then you have now a situation, the bridge exists, but the Brazilians don't cross the bridge because they don't want to enter legally and they want to enter illegally, so there are plenty of boats crossing. And the Brazilian police knows it well. So they make some few controls on the river, but they forced, the diplomats and politicians forced the French police to cooperate with the Brazilian police and to share the data with the Brazilian police. This means to allow an illegal entry. Because when you tell a cooperator of the mafia, what many police officers on the border are, when you will make a control, where you will make a control, then all smugglers and all coyotes and all boat owner who goes with illegals over the river know when and where they will control it. And so it's still going on, the same amount of boats, just in the hours of control, they are not on the river. So it's an organized invasion, you can say, an invasion organized by the Brazilian state. France thought about an invasion so much that the Brazilian military thought that they may invade soon, and they considered it the biggest risk for Brazil, a French invasion into Brazil as a reaction of the invasion of Brazilians to French Guiana. And in the dispute about the destruction of the Amazonas, no? It increases. The more money they get, the more destruction of the Amazonas is done, because they have the money to organize the deforestation. And it goes on with the deforestation. When there was a hype and the information about it, then France recommended a military invasion and internationalization of the Amazonas. Trump didn't go along at this time with this proposal, but we should think again about internationalizing big parts of Brazil to save Brazil from Brazilians who destroy this rich country. So there we have a reason. Also France would probably want to declare an invasion and want that the NATO troops fight against the Brazilian invaders in French Guiana. This probably would lead them to a war and a need to invade Brazil and to get the old drug dealer terrorist killed, because that's our law in the United States. So there are different reasons to get rid for it, no? And when we get it done, so in case, let's go back to the reason number one, helping them to solve the problem with the drug cartels. Then, when they are really against the drug cartels, then they welcome our military invasion, they will welcome us with flowers, they will help us, they will be happy, smiling, standing on the road, clapping hands. No? The ones who don't do and resist are cooperating with the drug dealers, and they should be killed. No? So when the majority in the official state resists, then they are cooperating with the drug dealers, and then we need to erase them as well. When they cooperate, then we need just to erase 60 or 70% of the population involved in drug trade and other terror acts. No? Lynching is a terror act for us, not for them. It's legal for them. And over 1 million lynchers have to be lynched by themselves as a punishment, up to our law and order system. And the burners of homeless people, probably around 500,000, also not investigated properly in Brazil. For us, terrorists, just hack them in pieces, burn them alive, and we find them. So that ends up in around 150 million terrorists we would have to kill in Brazil. No? There are some people who can survive in case they give us the opportunity to select it. No? But we can't fight a long war, so we cannot afford to pay for a long war anymore. So the war needs to end within a year. In case there's no success and it looks like a very long war, very expensive war, then we do it like with Japan, just dropping few nuclear bombs, and then they will agree to a peace deal for sure. Also we can end the war when we want within 24 hours, but we would need to use then 4, 5 or 6 nuclear bombs and destroying the main cities and military quarters there. Then it would end within 24 hours. No? But let's be polite and let's see if they really want our help, if they really are against drugs, and clap hands when we invade and free them from these terrorists. No? Let's see. But there's a good thing about it, it's the biggest narco country. So when you have the biggest narco country and you defeat the biggest one, and it's a military tactic, you always go and defeat the strongest one, and the others will surrender. That's a very old military tactic that works now, has worked in the past, and will work in future. So Brazil is the biggest and strongest narco country, and the biggest drug dealers, and the most drug dealers live in Brazil. So we have to go into Brazil and we have to defeat it, and when the defeat of Brazil will lead to the fact that other countries will surrender. And then we will change it soon. The most important part is defeating the narco country Brazil and cleaning it from all their terrorists. Mexico will surrender. The government is less involved in it than in Brazil. Mexico has much less drug use than Brazil has. Brazil is a country of junkies and of drug dealers. Mexico has much less junkies and more drug dealers, and is so much easier to convince to go after it. You have more civilized people in Mexico, and you have more people willing to stand up against the drugs. No? And they have only they have the half of the inhabitants Brazil has. No? Mexico has less inhabitants than Brazil has terrorists. That's a fact. And so the next big part would be Mexico, to convince Mexico to surrender and to allow us our actions without interference. Then we could go into, like in Palestine, the government doesn't resist, we just kill the terrorists, and this would be the best development aid ever. No? And then we can clean the other narco countries. They are not so much powerful. No, it's not Brazil is the trickiest one, and when we defeat Brazil, then the world is already, the destiny has already reached that it goes only direction of drug-free world. And maybe terrorist-free in general. No? So that's about the arguments regarding why Brazil is the most important part in handling it in international way. As Singapore has cleaned in Singapore of drugs, but it's a constant fight against the cartels. The cartels continuously try to overrun Singapore, and it's not really an ended war. The war is a continuing war because the surrounding areas are full with drugs. So we need to end this drug problem on international level. It's an international problem. It's not a national drug trade, it's an international drug trade. But we need good relations first to China and Russia, and then let's see who want to oppose a coordinated army of China, Russia and United States. Some may, when they are full with drugs, they have no control over their mind. Let them try, and let them burn to death. We need to prepare this now. No? First, good relations with China and Russia. And I know China. I have dealt with the International Chamber of Commerce, vice director for different issues. And when I told him I will go to South America and I will take a look around of potential business partners, he told me directly in the face, loved it, and said, really? You with your morality requirements think you will find a single person who is a trustworthy business partner in this fucking shithole continent South America? And he laughed. And he was really right. No? I couldn't name you one businessman in South America whom I could recommend as business partner because he's trustworthy. But I can name millions who are a piece of shit, criminal and corrupt. So China is aware. In China, an example, they make controls about every Latin American who lands in China is automatically surveilled. And a huge percentage of them end up in jail and don't return because of drug trade. So it's included once even the beauty queen of Colombia trying to do drug trade, but she is from South America, so they surveil them. They do a good thing in this. They know they are realists. When they come from South America, the probability is very high that they are fucking junkies. Very high. So they surveil all people coming from South America, and the reality shows it's right. A huge amount of them end up in jail and don't make holidays there. And Russia prefers to have a good relation with civilized countries. They don't want to work together with shithole countries. They know the situation. They don't feel well. But there was no option to cooperate with the United States. No? China is the next best partner. They are not so retarded like other countries, and they are now a power, and they are quite intelligent people. No? Have a quite good intelligence, as we can see in our universities with the Chinese students. So Russia will be convinced as well. China and Russian people are very logical in their thinking. So you can argue with them, and we will argue with them, and we will convince them. They will understand the arguments, and they will understand that strike hards are necessary. They do, and they do strike hards. In Singapore, of course, they are strike hard. They will be in our boat like El Salvador will be, and many other countries. But the main players, and Indonesia too, but the main players for the international war on drugs are China, Russia, and United States. And we have to clean our army from every user of any illegal drugs. Fire everyone who smokes marijuana, who has used once in the past a drug. Fire them. We don't need this fucking piece of shit in our army. We have now more applicants than jobs for the army because now with Trump in charge as commander-in-chief, people want to become soldiers. So select them well and take the best. Take only the ones who hate and want to kill drug dealers. See you.